Good afternoon. Ever since I was about 8 years old, I've been completely fascinated with ancient Egypt civilization. There are many well-known aspects of Egyptian civilization, such as the pharaohs, the pyramids, and even the mythology. However, one thing that Egypt is well known for that some people aren't as well versed in would be the aspect of mummification. There's a lot of information out there about mummification, but today we'll be specifically going over mummification in Egypt from the time period of 2600 to 2200 BCE. It is my hope that this topic, although a little bit morbid, will be informative and interesting and can help you to learn more about a people group. Today we'll be going over the religious aspects of mummification, the process and ingredients necessary to mummify a body, as well as the different methods used to mummify a body dependent on social class. So, for starters, it's good to remember that many other civilizations also mummified their dead. However, Egypt is better known than some of those simply because of the state that the body was preserved in, because of Egypt's climate and their arid kind of desert area. The bodies were a little bit better preserved and therefore are more well known. The practice of mummification began around the time of the Great Pyramid. And because of religious beliefs, Egyptians believed that the body had to be preserved for the soul to go to the afterlife, which is why mummification became a thing. To the Egyptians, death was only a transition between one state to another. Tombs were often painted with scenes from the Book of the Dead, which depicted the afterlife, so that the souls could find their way once they left their bodies after death. Now, there were several ingredients that were necessary in order to mummify a body. First of those, and the most important, being natron. Natron was basically a compound of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate, so baking soda and salt, and it disinfected the body. Also necessary was a plant oil of some type, most likely a balsam type plant root extract that was likely to have come from bulrushes. Also necessary was a plant gum and some type of tree resin, most likely from a conifer tree. With all those ingredients, along with lots of linen to wrap the body, there were about 3 different options of ways that the body could be mummified, and those were largely based on wealth and social class. So the first method was traditionally for the wealthier. The body was washed, and then after that, the brain was removed from the skull using an iron hook. Now, through the nostrils. So usually, when it was removed, they just pulled it out, but sometimes they would have to break the nose. But they didn't like to do that because they believed it would disfigure the face in the afterlife, so they avoided that as much as possible. They then removed the contents of the abdomen with a knife, and then they washed out the cavity using a palm wine and spices. They then filled the cavity with aromatic substances like myrrh and cassia, and they would sew it back up. Then the body was placed in natron, the disinfecting agent, for 70 days and wrapped in linen and gum, and then they would return it to the family. So the second method was kind of a middle ground, so for a middle class kind of people. This one's a little bit gross. So in this method, the abdomen wasn't cut into at all, and so they didn't remove anything that way. Instead, they would take a syringe filled with cedar oil, and they would insert it into the anal cavity and stop it up. And that would dissolve all of the organs through time. So the body was also soaked in natron for 70 days, and then when it was removed, it was essentially just skin and bones. So that was kind of the middle ground. In the final method, the body was simply just washed of the intestines, and all the internal organs were put into jars to be put in the tomb. And then the body was soaked in natron for the 70 days. The only organ that they would leave in this method was the heart, because the Egyptians believed that the heart and the soul were tied together. And that's true for all the methods with the heart. So as you can see, mummification is not only fascinating, but appreciated by historians everywhere just because of the what was left behind from it. So like the proof of people's lives from the things in the tombs and from the preserved bodies. So today we've gotten a chance to look at the religious beliefs of the Egyptian people from this time period. We've also gotten to look at some of the ways that the ingredients and the process that were used to mummify bodies, and we've gotten to look at the methods by which they were mummified. So it's my hope that by learning a little more about this culture of this ancient civilization, we can see how their advancements in culture and medicine and technology has helped us pave the way to our modern world. History is not only fascinating, but necessary for us to learn and understand. As James Baldwin once said, people are trapped in history, and history is trapped in us. Thank you.